And this is Justin.
And this is Awkward Fist Bump Productions, baby. Yeah.
Bam.
Yeah, the last two videos, people are gonna be like, "Why are you being so weird and stuff?" But you got to change it up from time to time, man. We got to keep y'all happy. But
it's all about having fun.
Amen. Amen. So today, our weekly interview, we've got the Bomb Bizzle guest. Bomb Bizzle, is that even Bomb Beep? Oh, anyway, we got a great guest. Okay, I'm not lit. I'm not lit.
You ain't jiggy with it.
I'm not jiggy with it. I'm not lit. Okay, so I'm trying though. I'm trying to connect with you young people that are watching our show. Yeah, I got dad jokes. I got dad jokes for years.
Days.
Yeah. But anyway, so you may not recognize his face because he does look a lot different than he did. But introduce yourself, my friend.
My name's Jacob. I'm from season 6. I was gone in 60 seconds. No, I'm kidding. I gotta have a little bit of fun.
It was a hybrid movie. 60 days in, coupled with Gone in 60
seconds. Yeah,
I mean, I was really in there for about like 10 hours in intake, but I mean, you know, it from the clips, it definitely looked like 60 seconds. So, I mean, I can't argue that. You know.
Yeah. Well, you will see that they in some cases use a lot of like almost all the footage they have of you, like Steve from our season was on like 3 or 4 episodes before it showed his dramatic exit, but in reality he was only there like 2 days. So they had to use almost every bit of footage they had of him to spread that out into 4 episodes.
Man, they could have did that to me and made me look a little bit better. I mean, no. It's like, dude, you didn't get in the jail. You know, we can't make that look any better.
Well, you know, that stuff happens. So y'all, this is Jacob from season 6, the only season that hybrided with Gone in 60 seconds. And hey, he's got a great personality about it. All right, so don't give him too hard of a time, because I know in the comments you guys are probably going to light him up. But please love on the guy.
I'm ready for it.
But Jacob, it's great having you on today, brother. Appreciate you doing the interview, man. I really do. Why don't we start with the recruiting process? How did you even get involved with 60 Days In? Because I know you were a former corrections officer like me, and the idea at first didn't appeal to me, just to be honest with you. But talk to me about your recruiting process.
Well, first off, I want to say thank you for having me on here.
Thanks for coming.
You know, now when it comes to being recruited, I have an Instagram, and you know, through I don't know why, but some people, I guess a good bit of people like to follow me on there, and you know, I built kind of like a following through my social medias before any of this all existed. So, I was going through my messages one day, and I seen this message from a production company, which I thought was a scam at first. But then whenever I looked into it more, I realized it was not a scam, but I already knew what it was before they told me what it was. Like, I'm like, this can't be, like, I can't be lucky and have this, you know, real good time type of reality show where I just have a blast and be myself and you know, make people laugh. And you know, I couldn't have that. I already knew what it was pertained to because I knew some of my photos on Instagram. I did have a uniform on in a couple of them photos, so I already knew before they even told me when I replied to that message what it was going to be. I even told my wife, I said, honey, you know, it might be like a Buck Wild, like from MTV, you know what I mean, where I can just have fun, you know. And she's like, you know, that's not what it's going to be. And I said, I already know what it's going to be. I said, I know this is 60 Days In. It's got to be because, you know, I couldn't get that lucky.
You know, the man's got a good point. A lot of reality TV stars become famous through doing cool stuff like Real World or Road Rules or, I don't know, Big Brother or something cool. Even Survivor, dude. I know. Or The Great Race. No, we had to make our
Naked and Afraid, man. Can you imagine me on there? No. I'd be naked and everybody would be afraid. No, I'm kidding.
But yeah, that tickles me, man, because we had to make our bones by going to jail for 60 days. But anyway, whatever.
Well,
Continue.
I only went for 10 hours, so it's okay. But,
Dude, he's actually. I was looking at the timer on this, y'all. I was seriously looking at the timer on this interview, and he has been on this interview longer than he was in jail. So congratulations, bro.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, awkward fist bump to you, brother.
We've been in this interview now for probably about 11 hours. 59 seconds, 61 seconds.
So how long were you a correction officer for?
Altogether, I did approximately almost, we'll say, about 7 years. 2 years at a county facility, and I did about 5 years inside of a state supermax penitentiary. And then I had to resign eventually due to I don't want to say it was inmates, man. I had a lot of good relationships with inmates. You know, they helped me out. I helped them out. You know, I was fair. I was consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't there to make their life harder. I was just there to make sure they were safe. I was safe, and my staff around me were safe. But I eventually had to resign due to a lot of corruption and abuse of power within the facility, because I would go home, and then I started to develop that mindset even at home around my children and my wife. I wanted to be left alone. I vacated myself. And as you can see with my personality, that's not my personality at all. I'm bubbly. I like to have fun.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd go home and I'd be shut off. It was sad. So I eventually had to resign.
And how long had you been resigned from being a corrections officer before 60 Days In contacted you?
Oh, they contacted me in the middle of me working at the jail.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you were an active officer when you did the show.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, dang.
But they wouldn't grant me, the jail wouldn't grant me to do the show.
Mm-hmm.
I got a letter from Governor Tom Wolf, and he was saying I'd ultimatum, you know, to either keep my job as corrections officer and not do the show, or I would have to, or vice versa. So,
Wow. From the governor.
Yes.
Wow.
My stuff would have come from like a sergeant. And I'm like, look, you get to choose, dude. Maybe it would have been elevated to a captain, but that's about that wouldn't have gone much higher than that. But it is what it is. But wow. So okay, so you were an active CO up to that point.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Well, talk about being a CO, because I know we hit a little bit of it before I hit that record button. PTSD and corrections officers, PTSD, and you hear about it more so in the veteran community, you know, the guys that went to Iraq and Afghanistan. But what you don't hear is guys and gals, sorry, if you're a female corrections officer, I mean absolutely no disrespect to you, but people that work in corrections or in law enforcement, the post-traumatic stress disorder is still very real. And I don't want to say you're deployed because it's a different type of atmosphere, but you're in danger every single day for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. You know, not just 1 year and you come home. And if you're military, I'm military too, so I'm not degrading the veterans here by any stretch of the means. But talk about post-traumatic stress disorder among corrections officers and law enforcement.
I think when it comes to corrections, I don't really know much about. I know about the law enforcement inside of the jail facility.
Yeah.
That would be me. Now, outside of that, I really don't know. So I'll pinpoint more on, you know, the stress and stuff inside of a jail environment. I just believe it's constant pressure from other officers around you. They want you to. Oh boy.
Oh, what?
Hold on. Keep going.
What,
But,
did your light go out, dude?
Yeah, keep going.
Hold on. Hold that. He said keep going, but I'm actually more entertained right now by you know, this is not going to get edited out. You know, we're going to keep this as is, brother, because
you got a nice window curtain, man. I like it.
Yeah, I know, right? Dude, this is hilarious. Dude, last time we had an interview with this guy, his boss called a couple of times.
Yeah.
All right, waiting on you, Justin, and so is the rest
While
of
you
the
do
audience.
that, I'm gonna hurry up and text my wife. Oh, I can't.
What happened to your light, bruh?
I do not know.
Okay.
It just shut off. Yeah.
Okay, let's try that again. So, let's talk about post-traumatic stress disorder from a correctional officer standpoint, because I meant to say this before you started speaking. I think the most What are you doing, Justin?
Sorry.
Stop.
He's
Just
just having a
sit
blast.
there. He's off in his own world.
Difficulties.
That's all right. We love you anyway.
Thank you.
But I think the most underappreciated law enforcement officer out there is the correctional officer, because on the outside, you know, and it's dangerous working on the road. I'm not taking that away from law enforcement officers on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, out there you can be shot, but in a lot of cases you have people coming up paying for your dinner and lunch, whatever, saying thank you for your service. And the correctional officer is the most, I believe, underappreciated officer out there, because people don't see you. You're not in the public eye, but you're surrounded. You're not surrounded by any allies. You're surrounded by people that do not like you. Some
Yes.
would want to kill you. If they could kill you to get out, they would in a heartbeat. So let's continue that conversation.
Yes. When when it comes to PTSD inside of the jail, I think it's mainly, a lot of things are noises too. You hear a lot of noises, and you just hear absurd noises, things that, sorry, but you hear things, and you, so when you go home and you hear loud noises and bangs and stuff, that, and you're in this loud environment, then you go home and your kids are loud, for an example. They're just children. We were all children. We were all loud, and unfortunately, you snap at them, because you're not realizing you're at home now, because you spend so much time inside of a jail facility. It causes a lot of stress, that. You guys still there?
Jacob.
You
Okay, you're
froze.
back. You're back. You're the one that froze, brother.
Oh, I did?
Yeah. All right. This is going to be a fun interview.
But yeah, I mean, and then certain things that you see inside the jail, you relive those nightmares in your dreams, and you wake up and you're in the middle of these panic attacks, and it's crazy, because when you're inside the jail and you're going through those certain things, there's no room for panic. You couldn't panic. You couldn't, but it's just odd that when you're sleeping peacefully, and then you wake up, and you're like, it's insane, and my wife's next to me sleeping, and then you can't go back to sleep real easily either. You're rolling around, it's stressful. Then the next day you're so tired, say you got a day off that day, and you're very short on your temper, you're short on rest, you're short on fuel, you're up all night tossing and turning. There's a lot of things that go on with that. I don't want to talk about my personal experiences inside the jail, because I just don't like to keep reliving certain things that I've seen and had to do in there. I just don't like to do that. I'm trying to move on with my life. It's just going forward with everything that I do. So.
Well, then let's move on. So you get selected to be on the show. When do you find out that it's Etowah County, Alabama?
Oh, wow. I'm thinking, I can't even remember correctly. If I could have an idea of what it would be, I would say maybe, I don't know, maybe a month before, around now, maybe a little bit less than. And then for the show as well, they requested that I stop taking on my mental health medications as well. And that threw me for a loop because I was on those medications for, about 5, 6 years. And
Oh, wow.
then all of a sudden, I don't now have all these imbalances in my brain and stuff like that. My wife even told me like I was very, she could hardly tolerate me when I went off of those medications, and then I get shipped away, so many miles away, and I'm in a hotel. I really have never been away from my family. I really proud myself off of being a good father, being a good husband, and most men can't wait to get away from their other half. And on the other side, I'm so excited to be around her. So. And I'm in this hotel for about a week and a half to 2 weeks by myself. I'm not allowed to talk to people. I have this bubbly personality. I can't talk to nobody. And,
Oh, wow.
I'm not on my medications. Things are closing in on me. I feel alone. And I'm not around my children. I'm thinking about I know it sounds absurd, but even like in a week and a half, my daughter was only about a year and a half, 2 years old. So I'm just wondering all the little things she's learning while daddy's not home, even though it's a short time away. But, I just thought too much. My anxiety, my depression, everything was kicking in at high gear.
And, that never occurred to me before, but he's right. When you are selected and they fly you out there, they don't tell you until you're out there, but I don't want to compare being in a nice plush hotel room to being in jail, but you were locked down. And what I mean by locked down is
Really?
like they keep you, and you're there about I want to say I was there about a week and a half as well. And you're not allowed to go out. You're not allowed to, your whole time is confined in this hotel room. And a big reason
Dang.
is because they don't want all the other participants are in the same hotel, at least in my case. I can't speak to you.
We were in different hotels.
Okay, well, for us, we were all pretty much in the same hotel. So I guess they didn't want us wandering out and bumping into each other and then talking things and they wanted even when they're doing the training, and I don't know if y'all had the same thing, but when we were doing our training and they would stop and they would set up a new camera angle or whatever, we were to remain silent. We weren't allowed to talk at all. So I could see where if you're struggling, and Jacob, I say that to say, if you were already kind of struggling anyway, you're off your medication, and now you're stuck in a hotel, and you can only do so much. You're like, okay, the TV, all right, cool, Facebook, all right, cool, but after a while, you want to get out and just get outside, and we couldn't do that without permission. But yeah, so I could see why you struggled with that. So you were having issues before you even went to jail.
Oh, of course. I definitely was. And I have an alcohol problem. I developed that. I mean, I always had a passion for alcohol. I really have. I still do, but I'm recovering now. I'm actually 33 days sober today.
Good for you. Good for you.
That's awesome.
I'm going to give you an awkward fist bump for that.
Damn. Good job.
That's been tough for me to overcome. Because during stressful situations, like when I was in that hotel, like I'm not gonna lie, I drank myself. That's what I did. I go down. You'd have that petty cash or whatever they give you, and I'd go down and I would just buy alcohol, or I would go to a sneak and go to like a close by some kind of little gas station where you can get it cheaper, so you can get a lot more for the price. And so then when I do finally get arrested and everything, I'm off medication and I chew. I didn't even try to wean myself off of chewing either. I just was like, I thought I was Superman, I guess. I don't know. But so now I'm inside this jail facility. I'm going through tobacco withdrawal, just a couple hours in. I'm off medication. And now I'm starting to get through withdrawal with alcohol as well. And there was a lot and then I just thought about my family, and I'm thinking about my little girl. I'm thinking about my wife. I'm thinking about my 2 boys. And it was just the wrong time of my life to try to really do something like that. And, I'm sure a lot of people are going to eat that up and be like, hey, there's no excuse. You know what you signed up for. I understand all that, but I'm also the type of person that when I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I don't fail often. When I want to do something, I pretty much excel at anything that I do. And unfortunately, this is a rare occasion where on international TV, I fell, and that's just how it goes. That's life,
So why would they not let you keep your medicine? Because I know people take medicines in there, so why wouldn't they just work it out to where you would still be able to have your medicines once you got in?
Well, they never really told me, but I kind of figured it out because from my personal experience working inside of the jail facility, everything's based off your social security number, your primary doctor, so you got to understand when you're going into a jail facility, you're under a fake name, you're under a fake social security number.
Yep.
And the nurses aren't even allowed to know that you're undercover. So how are you going to explain to a nurse, hey, or she's going to call your doctor and say, hey, I got this inmate here down in Etowah County, and then my doctor's all the way up in Connellsville, Pennsylvania, is wondering why the hell I'm down there in the first place. But my doctor's going to say, I don't have a patient by the name of Jacob Miller. I don't have a patient with that social security number.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's going to create speculation between that nurse to say, who is this man?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's why they wean you off of these certain medications that you do.
Yeah, and that's one thing a lot of people don't realize. When we get our aliases, it's not just name. They give us a new social security number. They give us an old address that we're supposed to, and we're supposed to remember all this. You're supposed to commit all that to memory. And I'll tell you a great example. I was told I was going up. So Sheriff Lamb had a veterans pod, and I'm a military veteran that he wanted me to go to. I didn't go to it. You didn't see it on season 5. That was a whole long story that we'll tell on another story. But at one point, or another episode. But at one point, I get pulled out of the pod by the guy that runs the military pod, and he's like, he interviews me, and he's like, well, yeah, you were military. He's like, I can tell by the acronyms you're throwing around, the language you're using.
Yeah.
So he starts writing my name down, and he's like, okay, what's your social? So I give him, my fake social, and he's like, okay, I'm going to write off for your military records, but go ahead and come on up. And I was up there for about 2 hours, and production freaked out and called and said, send him back down to pod 200. Didn't know. Long story. It would be great for another episode. Won't share it now. But had they not intervened, this guy might have very well gotten some information back from the VA that said, we have no Mark Davis social security number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that would have caused a whole different. So yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So
like that production didn't tell me that. I just kind of like, it just hit me. I'm like, how would I even get this medication for my depression, for my anxiety? How would I even get that? Because it's different for an actual inmate, because he's in there under his
name,
his social security number. So, and all of his information is valid. So it's a lot different.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You go in there. Obviously, you decide after I think you've done a pretty decent job. But what was that deciding factor that you said, that's it, I'm done?
Well, I'm sitting there in intake, and to be honest, the whole time, the only thing I'm thinking of is, hey, just get to a pod, get to a cell, get somewhere where I can actually lay down, somewhere, I can kind of, acclimate to everything around me, get familiar with just something, when you're in intake, and it started adding up. There's people coming in. It didn't really show that on the show. I was getting along with these inmates inside of the intake very well. Yeah, I was just, I'm sitting there, and I'm on this little concrete slab, and I get a lot of back issues as well. And I'm sitting there, and I'm in pain. I'm going through all these withdrawals. And I don't know. Then I asked this guy. I said, how long you been in intake? He said, I've been in here for over 2 days. And that's when I said, oh, hell no, I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm not sitting in for 2 days.
2 days?
I can't do that. I can't sit in this little tiny room for 2 days not be able to talk to my wife, my kids, anything, and try to go through all these withdrawals with all these people coming in, and they're trying to get information about me probably as well. I was like, I'm not, I'm done. I want to go home. I want to see my babies. I want to see my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I get emotional about that because that's my world. It really is.
Oh yeah.
But, I'm a nice guy. I'm funny. I like to have fun. But really, I'm just a soft person, man. Like in
A
my
family
heart,
man.
yeah, I'm good to people. I love to be good to people. But I know when to be tough. I had to be that person when I worked inside of that facility or
Mm-hmm.
between two facilities for so many years. There's a time and place, but I
Mhm.
don't like to be that person. It's not somebody I like to be. I like to
Yeah.
be fun, and I love people.
Oh yeah. So you never went back to corrections after the show, or did you?
I actually did. I believe I went back for about a month because what I did uh, with Tom Wolf and the superintendent of the jail, he's the basically the warden, not letting me have that. They're giving me that ultimatum. So what I did is I went out on my sick leave, my
Mhm.
vacation leave, and I went out on something called state assistance, uh, state. I don't know. It's some kind of program where you go out and they pay you for up to a certain amount of days to be off
Mhm.
as well. They call it SEEP,
Oh okay.
State Employees Assistance Program.
Hmm.
And they pay you to be out. You just got to call them and say I'm having a lot of stress issues and stuff. So whenever I went out, the jail had no idea that I actually flew to Alabama to do the show. And my questioning too the whole time is why wouldn't my superintendent, why would Tom Wolf not want this information at the jail in the first place? And then it just hits me of all the corruption that goes on inside of these jails with these officials and everything else going on. And I'm like, of course they wouldn't want that. I see it on an everyday basis. Why would they want to be aired out all over the news and everything else going on?
Mhm.
So, but yeah, that's pretty much how all that went there.
Dang. So
Wow.
did it? So I know you said you're only there back for a short time, but even though you were only in intake, did it make you change the way that you worked when you went back, like to see like? I mean, you say you already were fair with everybody, but like, did it open your eyes to being a better officer or changing the ways that you did things?
I mean, I don't want to say it did. I don't think I was really there long enough to change. But
Mhm.
at the same time, I always viewed, and I know inmates, I already know that inmates that have watched the show, I already know that they're already thinking, like, man, Burncheck's a good guy. He's a good guy. You know, um, he was always fair when he was here. I already knew that stuff. I've had plenty of inmates say how I've impacted their lives,
Mm-hmm.
so but when I worked around inmates, I tried my best not to be to act like I was any better than them. Because if I got caught doing certain things at a young age or throughout my life, I'd very well be there as well. So we've all done things that we're not proud of and things that you grow from, and nobody's any different. I mean, I don't know. When it comes to like child molesters and stuff, I always kind of, that was kind of hard to grit my teeth and be,
Oh yeah,
um, you
it's
know,
hard to be around some of the people that are in prison. Not
yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
No.
Especially on death row, I'd work on death row every now and again, and being around some of them, and um, then I would see them on Investigation Discovery. I'd see them, all on these programs that we watch. I'm like, wow, that's my inmate. I worked with that guy for years. So. Um, but no, it didn't really change anything that I did when I went back there. I always tried to be me, be who I
Mm-hmm.
was as a person. The best thing was when I got off that plane and got home, my wife had medication. My medication was there. It was ready to roll, and I got things back into my system as soon as possible because I was still going through withdrawal from that medication, going on to the show. So
And
that
that's
was fun.
actually a great point. You brought up your wife, and I think the show did a great job of showing how supportive she was
Yeah.
of you. So definitely mad props to your wife if she views this video, because
Well, I'll send it to her.
because she seemed to be very, very supportive. And how was that when I mean, obviously they showed a little bit. I'm sure you were there for a few more days before they actually let you fly home. How was that reunion when you got home?
With my family.
Mm-hmm.
That was surreal. That's all I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going through a lot with my family right now, so it's like with this interview, I almost called you and said, "Hey, can we schedule this for another day?" But so I'm already emotional about what's going on in my personal life, but that just adds to the I guess the magnitude of how I felt when I did get home. They drove me from Pittsburgh back to home, and it was incredible just to put my arms around her and my babies.
Oh yeah.
It was surreal. It was.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, listen, Miss Jacob's wife, however you want to be pronounced, Carly.
Miss Carly.
Yeah.
You're good people. I could tell by watching the episode where you were just like, "Come on home, baby." Like
Yeah.
I can tell are a strong woman, and you married a great dude. So, but well, anyway, before we go ahead and wrap this interview up, is there anything you want to talk about, like any social media follow? You want to throw out your social media? Do you want to talk about anything before we leave?
Of course. Through all my social media, it's basically the same. It's Jake R. Check. I tried to change my name a little bit on there because throughout playing music and throughout being on TV, even if it was a short stint, I would go to Sheetz. It's a gas station in Pennsylvania, and we would go to Sheetz or something. People would see me or talk to me, and I just tried to. I think I came to a point, unfortunately, where I was just closed in my life, and I just wanted to change all my social media to something where it was a little bit more difficult for people to find.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Instagram, Snapchat. I do a thing with my sobriety. I post these videos about my sobriety and talk a lot about depression, PTSD, anxiety, and even suicide. These young kids, they kind of gravitate towards me. I don't know why, but yeah, it's Jake RB Check, JAKE space R period space B check, and you can find me on any social media platform through that. And yeah, just I appreciate everybody's time. That's through Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, anything like that. So.
Cool. Wow. Heck yeah.
Well, this has been a great interview. Thank you for opening up and just being you, man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of the big thing about being a man in society is we're not supposed to show emotions, and there's nothing wrong, because we are still emotional too,
Oh yeah.
My counselor told me when I worked in that jail, she would always tell me, well, I would always be told by veteran officers, like, don't ever go home and tell your wife what you do here. Don't talk about it. Don't, And then through counseling, I found out that was the worst thing I could have ever done. I had to bottle everything up, and I changed as a person. I almost lost my family.
Yeah. Well,
it's best to just let it go.
I think most law enforcement officers, military, same boat.
Same.
We don't.
Yeah.
Like, my wife asked me, "Well, what'd you do today?" "I worked." "Was it good?" "Okay." Was it all right?" "Yep, it was okay." I'm not, I mean, the few times that I've had to call her because I was rolling out to the hospital, and yes, I have had to roll out to the hospital a couple of times.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's just part of the business, man. She's always freaking out, and it's like, baby, it's not that bad, I promise. But what's funny is the last time I rolled out to the hospital, I had bruised ribs from a fight, and it wasn't the guy I was fighting with. It was the body cam the body cam just tore into my ribs
Oh,
like at
yeah.
some point during the fight, and so the body cam said. So I tried to charge the body cam with felony obstruction, but it didn't go through. It didn't go through. But look, thank you so much, my brother. Like,
Thank you,
seriously,
brother.
thank you for being
Hey,
you.
thank you. Nice meeting you, and I appreciate you guys having me, being kind.
Yes, sir.
You're always welcome back to the show.
Anytime.
You and Miss Carly, we love you too. So,
I'll
with
let
that,
her know that.
yeah, let her know. All right, guys, bring it
All right,
in.
guys.